Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast presented by Gold Boys. Coming up on the show, Fred Segal of Freezing Cold Takes will join us. We'll go over some of the biggest draft busts, his account, how he got started. He's a fun follow. So excited to talk to Fred. And the draft is hours away. I'll get to the NBA games for Thursday and Wednesday and Thursday here in a minute. But before we get there, again, the draft, it's day away, hours away, depending upon where you're listening. So I will just preface this. I'll give you my mock top 10. Everybody else is doing it. Might as well join the fun here. I have no information. This is guesswork. I don't have any sort of intel. If you're betting this based on what I say, don't, because I don't have any information that you guys listening don't have. But with that being said, let's go for it here. Caleb Williams one, obviously. And I'll just leave it at that. I'll go one for one, and I'll leave it at Caleb Williams. Now I'll go Caleb Williams one, Daniels two, which is been the big mover here. I think it was Monday night was the big move. I think it was a couple of tweets by Schefter and some of the other newsbreakers that got this down to around even money. It's been bouncing around from plus money, big minus money, down to even money again. And then it took a big move on Monday night down to like it's minus 300, minus 400 in some spots. I'll assume that's true. Dangerous. Look, none of, again, I will say it again, none of us know anything just because somebody tweets something. So much misdirection. There was so much misdirection last year. Who knows? But I'll go Daniels two. I'll go May three at chalk with the chalk here. I'll go Harrison four. I'll go Alt going five. I think that Harbaugh, look, he's a meat and potatoes guy. He likes offensive line play. He's about running the ball. When he was with the 49ers, when he was with Michigan, it was run first. So I'll go Alt five. I'll go Adunze, a little bit of an upset to the Giants at six. Bear was on this podcast. Chris Fleek was on this podcast a few weeks ago saying, hey, he heard some whispers. A little birdie told him the Giants really love Adunze. I'll take his word for it. Take a shot with Adunze going six to the G-men. I'll go Malik Neighbors going seven to the Titans. First defensive player off the board. I'll go Brian Murphy from Texas at eight to Atlanta. You get a little connection there because, I mean, Raheem Morris was with the Rams. He saw firsthand what a dominant defensive tackle could do with Aaron Donald. So I'll take Murphy, who's supposedly a high riser here. I'll go Fashanu, the offensive lineman, ninth to, you know what? No, I'll go Verse. I'll go Jared Verse ninth to the Bears. I'll give them a pass rusher, and then I'll go Fashanu, the offensive lineman, to the Jets. So that's the top 10. I have McCarthy falling out. Again, he go third or fourth. I wouldn't be shocked. I'll have McCarthy going 11th to the Vikings. I'll have him be the guy to fall. I was doing a couple shows Tuesday, and I was talking about Bo Nix. I don't think he's going to go in the first round. And a couple people watching the show, one person in particular watching the show, texted me as the show's going on. He goes, "I think you're dead wrong about Nix. I have a pretty good feeling he's going in the first round." He was a Broncos fan too. He's like, "Okay, I'll just leave it at that." He's a Broncos fan. He thinks the Broncos are going to take Nix, and if not the Broncos, it's going to be somebody else. And again, Broncos, I don't think they have a second rounder, so it'd have to be in the first rounder. But he was very adamant. So take that for what it's worth. That I like Nix over. I like Nix to go in the second round, and now I am certainly not as confident. If I didn't have any bets on it, I would not bet it now. And if I had to bet it, I would actually bet him on going the first round. He made a pretty convincing case that Nix does go in the first round. Probably Penix goes in the first round. I know these quarterbacks tend to drop, and they don't go as high as we think. Like think of Malik Willis and Levis, guys like that. Even Pickett was supposed to go high. He dropped. But the quarterback draft, there's so few good quarterbacks. These teams need quarterbacks. The quarterbacks next year aren't any good. So maybe Nick's Penix, maybe we get both of them here in the first round. Maybe we end up getting 6 first-round quarterbacks. So it'll be a lot of fun. Again, don't go crazy. Don't bet more than you can get in the cycle of just betting information. Oh, I see a rumor, I'm gonna get a bet. See a rumor, got to bet. And individually, this could all be in good bets, but you could end up with just too many bets where you're sitting there on Thursday and you have way more bets than you like. So that's not a good position to be in. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. It's a fun night. So excited for the draft. Always a great event. As far as the basketball, let's get to the games Wednesday and Thursday. The one bet I really love, Celtics play the Heat. Celtics playing 14.5, total 202.5. Miami team total under. It's adjusted. It's down to 93.5. I'd still go under. And DraftKings has Boston minus 155 to sweep. I don't see how the hell Miami wins a game. I just don't. I don't see how Miami comes within 10 of these of the Celtics. I know Boston, they can get lethargical. They can get sloppy. They got sloppy the fourth quarter with a 30-point lead where Miami almost backdoored Boston, which would have been just an atrocious beat. even Boston playing a B game, a C game, even Miami on a game, it's just going to take such a confluence of events for Miami to beat Boston. I think Boston will win by 1,000,000 on Wednesday, and this line will be minus 220, minus 230. They'll be 7-point favorites in game three. And once they win in game three, which I think they will, Miami will probably pack it in game four, and Boston will sweep. So minus 155, I think is a good price. I think Boston just buries Miami. And I think they have enough respect for Miami because what Miami's done to them over the years where they're going to put the foot on their throat a little bit. So I like Boston to sweep minus 155. That's the Wednesday night game when that series resumes on Wednesday. Pelicans Thunder laying 7.5. No bet for me. I lean towards taking it. That was a fun game. That was the one fun game we got in the first weekend where the games actually got good on Monday. The game was good on Sunday. So we got a string of good games Sunday into Monday. I will I would lean towards taking the points. I really would. I think that these teams are not that far away from each other. You saw Oklahoma City. Now I think Oklahoma City be a little looser. They looked a little tight the other night. There was some bad offense that last sequence, the last 3 or 4 minutes, man. Neither team could get a good shot. It was it was more than a little helter skelter, but 7.5's a lot. I know that's a really good home court. I would think OKC would win, but I lean towards taking the points with the Pelicans. Under 210 and a half looks pretty good because if you notice, they've been calling these games very, very loose. They letting a lot of contact go. And I don't know that New Orleans has a lot of great ways of scoring. Plus, New Orleans has a lot of guys they can put on Shea Alexander. So, the Herb Joneses of the world, Alvarez, they got a bunch of guys that can do a decent job on OKC. So I lean towards the under. I lean towards taking the points. I'm going to end up taking the 7.5 there with the Pelicans. And then on Thursday, I don't have any feel for Knicks Sixers. I don't know how the Sixers bounce back. I know Embiid's going to talk a big game. Hey, we're going to win the series. We'll see. Home team usually wins this game down 2-0, especially when they're comparable in talent. And Philly could have won either game, one or game two. They totally let it get away. I know there was some contact they let go, but look, Philly could have called timeout. There's a lot of things that happened in that last minute. I lean towards Philly winning the game. I lean towards Landon. I'm going to lay off just because I'm worried about where their head is at after just such an epic meltdown. But it would be a lean towards the Sixers laying the 4.5. Cavs Magic is completely unwatchable. I do like the under. This under keeps going down. It started 208 and then it went to 201 for game two, maybe 199 for game two. No, it was 202, 203 for game two. So 207.5 for game one, 202 for game two. And now we're down to 199. It's going to keep going under. These teams can't score. Magic are good on defense. Magic are bad on offense. Cavs are good on defense. All of these units are conducive to an under. So I will go under there. Again, this series is brutally unwatchable. Orlando cannot shoot the basketball. I will go under. I don't even know if Orlando gets the token up 2-0 going home win. They're just so bad on offense. I guess they would. If I had to pick it, I guess they would. But boy, they are tough to watch. They need some guards. They just need some shit. They've got some nice pieces. They've got some talent. Unfortunately, none of that talent includes putting the ball through the hoop. Lakers Nuggets. Again, that was just a devastating loss for the Lakers. Same thing with Philly, where I worry about where their head is at. You start to worry psychologically. They're just like, man, what does it take to beat this team? Davis had a huge game, shot 14 of 19. Russell shot 6 of 7 from 3, I think, in the first half. Russell was great. LeBron played a good game. And you still look up and you lose the game. Blew a 20-point lead in the second half. That being said, they're kind of due. Due's a dangerous word. They're due to just win one of these against Denver because they've played well. They've had leads. They've had double-digit leads going back to last year. And I know they lose all of them. They're due to just break through and win one of them. I think the Lakers win. Not a confident pick, but I'll go with the Lakers here on Thursday. Again, am I going to bet it? It's hard to bet it just because you just seen so many times, time and time again, where Denver just finds ways to win. They're just better than the Lakers. But I get the feeling the Lakers are bound to break through them. And when you have double-digit lead after double-digit lead in a lot of these games like they have, eventually you're just going to hang on to one of them. So Lakers, I'll call it a small pick on the Lakers. Under the Magic Cavs, lean to the Sixers, lean to the Pelicans. I like the under in Pelicans Thunder. And I really like, my favorite of all these is the Celtics sweep. I don't see how Miami wins a game. I really don't. I don't see, that's a terrible job by Boston if they can't win all 4 of these. Boston is much, much better than Miami. It's disrespectful to say, hey, it's a 1 versus 16 because nothing's that extreme like a college basketball in the NCAA tournament, 1 versus 16, but there is a little bit of that feel to it. Boston, Miami, where it is a little bit of a 1 versus 16 feel. So Boston to sweep, and the others I mentioned. Playoffs getting good. Again, the first round, there's so many games. There's games on 2-3 games on a night, games on late. It's a lot of fun. So draft, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, baseball every day. We'll get back to baseball here shortly, but with the playoffs and the draft, got to spend a little time on that. So fun time of the year, warmer weather getting warmer in the East Coast, a lot of good sports. So enjoy the draft, enjoy these playoffs. These are fun nights. This beats the hell out of February when you got nothing but college basketball and you're just sitting there waiting for the tournament. It's that stuff's gone now. Now you got sports on every day. And again, once you start the NBA playoffs, by the time it wraps up, you're middle of June, you get the NBA draft, you're like a month away from preseason football. So it comes quickly. It comes quickly. It's nice to have the draft and just have NFL to talk about. And you realize it gets here before you know it. Now it goes by in a flash too. Like once NFL gets here, you look up and it's like week 8, week 12. But before you know it, we will be discussing preseason football and spend plenty of time getting ready for the NFL season. But next, Fred Segal from Freezing Cold Takes. We'll get his thoughts, talk to him. That is next. This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. Shoulda Bet More podcast. You know him from one of the best accounts on Twitter at Old Takes Exposed, Freezing Cold Takes. It is Fred Segal. Fred, what's up, man? Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
It's draft season, so I feel like this is one of the times where the old takes kind of come out, whether it's Johnny Manziel, Ryan Leaf, you go down the list. But for people who don't know, how did this Twitter account start? Like, where did this all come from? How did things get started?
Well, I was just a regular Twitter user, and one day I was just wondering, like, I kept seeing all these journalists pat themselves on the back and say, just like I predicted, this happened. And I always wondered, I would remember some of the things that they got wrong. So I just decided, hey, I'm on a whim. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to make an account that just reports what folks do wrong, what journalists get wrong. And it just turned out to be very big.
And they can read more about this. You got a book, Freezing Takes NFL, which is great. I have a copy, so I encourage everyone to order it. Let me ask you this: what's the maddest anyone has gotten, whether it's media, players? Because like it's a lighthearted account, people have fun with it, people enjoy it. But I know how sensitive people are that they don't like to be wrong or like to be called out. What's like the maddest somebody's gotten?
It's not anything big. I'll get folks will go into my DMs and stuff and say, this wasn't actually wrong, or explain why they got it wrong, which and they're better off not even saying anything, just letting it go. Well, sometimes they'll block me. I get blocked by a lot of them, but they'll block me and block anyone who tags me under their tweets. That's really something that happens a lot.
Which any athletes, media members, anybody that comes to mind?
Athletes, no. Media members, there's some. I can't remember who they are now, but there's a lot of them. I know that. I don't really see them that much anymore because they block me. But there are a few. There are definitely a few who do that. I can't even think of it. But it happened a lot at the beginning. Now it doesn't happen as much anymore because I think they're getting more wise to the fact that if you go off on the account, I'll just retweet it, and they'll have a whole host of people just replying and making fun of them for it.
Has anyone ever
nothing you can gain from it?
Yeah, right. Has anyone told you that? Because I think this sometimes, that you've kind of indirectly, maybe directly, affected draft coverage. Where the draft coverage now, I remember as a kid, like somebody would get drafted and people would have sometimes people be against the pick, say, hey, this guy's gonna be a bust, terrible pick. I feel like the draft coverage is a little more vanilla now, where everyone loves every pick. And I feel like it's part of because of Freezing Cold Takes, where nobody wants to be exposed, where you say, hey, terrible pick, why would they pick him? Then he goes on to be a Hall of Famer, especially, the ESPN NFL Network, NFL Draft is a big one where it seems like everybody loves every pick. Do you feel like you've had an effect on that? Have you heard that before?
I've heard people tell me that. I don't know if that's actually true. I think now they realize that everything's memorialized now. Back prior to this, when the draft coverage, 90s, early 2000s, even early 2010, everything they say probably will come and go. You have a whole draft coverage. It's not now. Once you make a pick and someone says something, it's going to be cut up into like a little clip and sent out, packaged, where it's so easily accessible to anybody that they know it's cut. Whatever they say is going to be looked back at exactly how they said it.
What's the most famous freezing cold take? Because the draft does bring up some good ones. What's like the most famous one?
The most famous one, probably Aaron Rodgers. Probably when Brian Brom was picked in 2008. Aaron Rodgers had probably been there for 3 years, and Favre had just left Green Bay. So Aaron Rodgers was just becoming the quarterback, the starting quarterback in 2008. And Brian Brom out of Louisville was picked in the second round, and Merrill Hodge and Todd McShay said that he has more upside. Brom has more upside. He's going to be better than Aaron Rodgers. And Rodgers, like foreshadowing a type of thing where they're going to push Rodgers out eventually, and Brom's going to come in just as they did with Favre.
Wow, I hadn't remembered that. So Brom was the Louisville quarterback. So Rodgers got picked. Why am I drawing a blank now? Oh,
Rodgers got picked in 2005.
Okay, yeah.
By the Packers in the first round, and they had that whole thing where he was sitting there waiting to get picked, and he waited for 3 years as the backup. And depending on what people say, they kind of pushed Favre out. Favre retired, and I say that in quotes, and eventually went to the Jets later that year. And when he retired, which was like in March, the draft was in April. They picked Brom, and Rodgers was going to be the starter. I mean, he had only played like one full game as a quarterback of the Packers, so no one really knew. They had high hopes for him, but he was still an enigma. They didn't really know how good he was going to be.
How high on the list is Manziel? Because I sometimes with Twitter, you see this on this day, so many years ago, on the day of the draft, as we're getting closer here, the anniversary of everyone loved Manziel. John Gruden sitting there pounding the table. How does this team not draft Manziel? How's that team? Is Manziel?
Manziel. John Gruden it was like he was paid PR for that guy.
It was really, it got uncomfortable.
I don't know how Manziel was absolutely loved by a lot of people, but he definitely had his detractors, which is why he was picked by the end of the first round, or maybe the mid first round by the Browns. But yeah, Johnny Manziel had a lot. He was a great subject. He's a great subject for the feed, because people tend to fall in love with college guys, especially exciting college guys on offense, skill position guys, and he was one of those guys. Especially, he was such an exciting player that translated into he's going to be amazing in the NFL with kind of foregoing his flaws.
Did Mahomes? Did he create a lot of culprits for freezing cold takes with people just killing the pick?
Yeah, well, there are a few Mahomes folks who trashed. It was also the trades that they traded up to get him, and Buffalo. I think Allen's another one. That same draft was one that was probably had more freezing cold takes than Mahomes. Allen, because Mahomes was picked a little later. Allen was picked, and they traded up to get him. I think traded a lot to get him, and there was Josh Rosen there, and Allen wasn't, I guess, kind of like Mahomes, but Allen was even more so. He wasn't very accurate in college.
Right.
So there was a thing like he was at a smaller school. So I think that Josh Rosen was more hyped up than Allen was. And I think that there were a lot of people who said that Josh Rosen would have been the better quarterback. And that was a bad pick. I think Allen was the one who got even more hate in that draft.
Do you have to do a lot of this work? Are you sitting there with your pen and paper jotting these down, or is this more a situation where people reach out to you when there's just like a horribly bad prediction and people kind of alert you, and the game kind of comes to you, you don't have to do as much?
Not anymore. I don't have to do as much. Everybody sends me. It's hard to even go through them. It's a lot of stuff that I'm sent. Especially,
does it get annoying? Does it get annoying, or it makes it easier for you?
Well, it makes it easier. It's also annoying because I get a lot of the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
I get a lot. Someone saying, you got to do this. You got to do this. And then it's like I've done it 3 times already. Yeah. I get sent the same stuff over and over again. I'd say 75% of the stuff is repeats I'm sent.
Interesting. With the draft coming up, anyone on your radar? Any of these predictions that you have a feeling for? Do you just kind
Any
of sit?
quarterback.
Yeah,
Any quarterback. I mean, the quarterback who's going first, Williams, he's a great one. Already polarizing. I think that there's a lot of things. And then there's the Michigan quarterback. Didn't throw many passes at Michigan. It seemed unspectacular in a sense of since they had really kind of a running offense, and he didn't really make any. They didn't ask him to do that much in the offense, so it appears that he's going to go high in the draft, and there's a lot of wondering why.
sure. Do you think with betting being more prevalent, like everyone's an expert now, there's opinions everywhere. People, are betting, people are just giving out advice. Do you feel like that makes it more where predictions are more like widely available just because there's so many more opinions out there?
Yeah, but I don't necessarily like to do bets. I don't think bets are really picks because I don't bet on sports, but I know the people who do, and they're not they're going to lose games. It's about like how you do one week is based on how many games you won versus how many games you lost. So if one individual bet is not really a pick because it's just one game.
Right.
So it's looked at as a whole. Now, if someone says that I guarantee this pick, or this is my lock of the day, there's no way it's going to lose, then I'll use it.
Yeah, you're not looking for gotcha on like 50-50 things. Like a bet, in theory, for most part, it's a 50-50 thing. You're not looking for guys that get coin flips wrong. You're looking for people that go out on a limb and just that limb breaks on them.
Right. Or they set out their picks for the night. It's 5 picks and they lose all of them.
Okay.
Then I'll do that. But yeah. And sometimes a person will give out their picks and like one by one, and someone will clip like just the portion of this one game, and they could have gotten all the other games right.
True.
So it's just like it's just I try to look at it in that way.
Do you ever feel bad when one of the freezing cold takes is one that you kind of agreed with or would have agreed with at the time? Does that ever enter your mind?
No, never feel bad. It happens a lot. Yeah.
But it does
I mean,
happen.
some of the ones, some of the picks, some of the players, yeah, everyone thinks they're going to be good.
Sure.
Some players, some games, everyone thinks the team's going to win. So, but it's not like I'm going to put if a bad team beats a good team and someone said, I think this good team's going to win this game. It's not really enough there. It's got to be like, they're going to destroy them, or it happens a lot. Or just like name in the playoffs, they name a first round matchup between two first round matches between two good teams versus two bad teams. Then someone just says second round already announced the second round between these two teams. Those two teams both lose. It's a good one.
Do you ever get the sense that people are almost, they make these predictions, and if they're right, they're right. But if they don't, they don't mind. They're almost trying to get the attention of the freezing cold takes, where they're almost trying to gain that notoriety.
There's a lot of accounts like that. I try not to use them. I mean, there's definitely at least 10 accounts that I'll reply. I don't use them anymore because of that. I notice them right away. They do it every day, all day long.
Really?
Also, the accounts with the teams, like a team account of a guy who overly hypes his team, even if it's not that good of a team. Before every game, they say this team's going to win by 100 points.
So they're basically just trying to get more followers, more attention. So they're either going to be right, and they can
not just for me, just attention from anybody. They say something ridiculous, and then all these accounts just retweet them and quote them and say how stupid they are. And it turns out they just get more attention. Everyone knows them by a month in.
Yeah, Twitter can be a strange place. Have you ever had a freezing cold take that reversed itself, where everyone was wrong about something, but then somebody had a resurgence in their career, like a Geno Smith, something like that? Has there ever been a freezing cold take that's been reversed?
It happens a lot,
Really?
but I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. Geno Smith could be a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Where I've already used one about them. Harbaugh at Michigan
Oh, that's a
is
good
one.
one.
Yeah, because after I'd say pandemic,
It was a bad year.
Harbaugh was on his like last leg because that season, I think they played like 6 games. They may have won 2-4, and he had never beaten Ohio State, and he was in bad shape, and he completely reversed it after that. I think he beat Ohio State 3 straight times after that.
Right. So you have people saying, "Oh, what a great hire Harbaugh is," and that becomes a freezing cold take. And then
Once by or the Harbaugh is definitely going to win a national championship at Michigan.
yes, and that's a freezing
Yeah,
cold
something like
take. And then
that.
it's a double. It's almost a double freezing cold take where you're
Exactly.
wrong no
Harbaugh's
matter which.
probably a great example, really one of the best examples of it.
Wow,
Because
that is a good
talking
example.
2020, he was kind of a bust hire at Michigan.
Sure. Absolutely. All right, Fred. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Let everyone know about your book. Explain, what it is, what they're getting with the book, and let everyone know.
No, Freezing Cold Takes NFL is my book. It's a book about, it's not just a list of freezing cold takes like on my Twitter feed where I just list the ones that are wrong. I go through various different situations and like teams like the 49ers from the 80s, the Cowboys from the 80s, the Packers from the 90s, etc., Steelers from the 90s, and talk about certain freezing cold takes that with those teams and how they came about and how that happened. And it's very interesting. I spent 2 years researching it. You can get it on Amazon. You can go to my Twitter account at Old Takes Exposed. It's right there on the pinned tweet. So Freezing Cold Takes NFL is the book, and I think anyone who loves the NFL will enjoy it.
It's fun. It's a light read. It's a fun read. It's in no matter how big of a fan you are, there's some in there that you just forget about because our brain has a hard time keeping track of like all the busts, all the different predictions, all the different takes people have. So it's definitely fun to go back and read it and catch up on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think any NFL fan will enjoy.
All right, Fred. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for a few minutes here. Hopefully we'll catch up here down the road.
All right. Thank you.
All right, that'll do it. Thank you to Fred Segal. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back Friday, react to the draft, talk some more playoffs. See you guys then.